Hi, I'm Christopher Runsman. Welcome to One Page Story Extravaganza. If you have a story idea you'd like to suggest, please put it in the chat or the comments. You can feel free to put it on the comments section in any of my social media or any of my posts at all. I do a one-page story from these ideas or ideas that are floating through my own noggin every single day, and I post them online. If you want to see the original art, it's on my Patreon. The link's down below for that and all of the other social media outlets. Joining the community, have fun, subscribe to things, put the notifications on, all that jazz. But take part, have fun, watch for your suggestion to be made into a story, inspire others maybe with your idea, or, I don't know, be inspired to make some of your own. Either way, it's a lot of fun. Hope to see you soon.
A suggestion, I just picked one out of the book. These are the ones that I'm going to flip it over so you can't see the person's email. But these are the ones that we did. Oh, flashing out the camera. These are the ones that we did at the convention. We put these out and people made a bunch of suggestions. And so I'm slowly trying to go through those. Hi, Miriam. Welcome aboard. Miriam just had a fantastic stream. If you get a chance, go back and watch her video that she just live streamed today. She makes all kinds of fantastic stuff. She's been building all like a month now. She's been building this fantastic haunted house diorama, and it is awesome. It's so fantastic. I just watched her make a doll head from a mold in seconds. It's fantastic. So welcome aboard, Miriam. Today's suggestion is from Philip H., and it's dairy farmer provides milk to a skeleton horde to make them stronger, from Philip H. So that's exciting. Hi, Barbara. Christopher. That's about right. That's how I pronounce it. Phonetically. Okay, so up on the screen right now is today's page. What do you want to be when you grow up? This was a suggestion yesterday from Josh. I got some more fun to show you, though. You're going to get a sneak peek, sneaky, of Inktober. This is the Inktober that I'll be posting very soon for people to see on the Instagrams and the Facebooks. And here's another little secret on my Patreon, which is under in the links down below, is mini book number 2 has been put on there. So there are 2 one-page story extravaganza books that are available for people now. You get to download the PDF, and if you want to print it out, you can print it out. And I've got it assembled in such a way as you can fold them in half, so that you and print them back to back, and you stack them up and get yourself a little booklet. So, whee! Okay, so there's our today's Inktober and today's image. This was a lot of fun. Thank you, everybody, for engaging yesterday and shouting out some suggestions. I incorporated some of those into the page. These were a lot of fun. So we'll do some more stuff like that. I enjoy that. Let's switch to table. Oh, hey, before I go, hey, anybody, if you get a chance, go check out the Craft Hive in St. Thomas, Ontario. Very, very happy to promote this store. I really am. They're a new store. They need all the help that they can get, and they're fantastic, and they got all kinds of supplies at the shop. So go check them out. They're really cool. Today's suggestion, for those that didn't get a chance to see it earlier, is dairy farmer provides milk to a skeleton horde to make them stronger. So this is what we put out with, name and email at the top, and at the con. And so I keep them in the book, and I just picked whatever's on the top, which leads me to some interesting scrambling at the last second. And we're going to do some of that today. So, hey, Chris, welcome aboard. How are you? Oh, Chris is lurking. This is how I picture lurking, by the way. That's how I picture it. It's just me. I know that when I lurk on things, I do this. And I hope nobody notices I'm there, which is easy to do when you don't type anything. But welcome aboard. It's always great to have you guys join us. Okay, so I've got one of the many jelly plated pages that I did with my granddaughter. We had a lot of fun doing it. So I got a big old stack of stuff now. I hope that people are noticing a difference with the lighting and the miking that we have going now. I changed it all up and made it all better. So hopefully that's coming across. You know, Miriam says it's calcium for the bones. It truly is. Okay, so anyways, we'll pick out one of these thingamajiggers, and we'll go from that. I think you know what, I kind of like the one on top just because I really like these colors. I really like the colors, so we might work on this. Yeah, Chris says it's brighter. I'm glad to hear that. I really am. I switched cameras up. I got ring lighting going now, and figured out how to light. I watched some videos for how to light for a live stream or for streaming, and I learned some things. So I'm glad that you can see it now. Thank you very much for letting me know. Okay, so here's some fun in the sun pages. I don't know if there's something that people like. I kind of like these colors. I like a lot of these colors. I like that too. Maybe there's something there. I don't know. But anyhow, we're going to work on, I think I'll just pick the top one. That's just easier. Isn't it? Isn't it just easier to do that? All right. Barbara says, Christopher, can I trouble you, please? Post that art store information again. Of course I will. I love this shop. If you go in there, tell them, say, hi, Chris sent me. Well, I'll just say Chris sent me. Tell them where he's at. That's the Craft Hive in St. Thomas, Ontario. They're fantastic. They really are. It's a mother and daughter combination, and they're really, really nice people. So I mentioned to them that if they want, I can do some workshops there if they'd like. So we'll see how that goes. But in the meantime, I really just like promoting the heck out of this store because it's where I go to get my stuff. It's the only place that I can find the Posca pens or the Posca paints that I need when I need them. Like everybody always sells out of white, always. And yet every time I go to the craft, it's right there. Yeah, and they're very nice people. Even though there's a lot of construction going on Main Street, St. Thomas, if you park behind them, you can just go in the back door. They have, last month they had, I think it was last month. Maybe it was the start of this month. I don't know. No, it was the start of this month. They had a big sale, and they sold, hold on, I'll show you. They sold a bunch of these little stencils. That was for Dee Dee if she's watching. So I picked up some of these stencils, and I got them for $2. So each. And this is great. These little patterns are great, and I'll be able to use them for some things. I love this. I always end up hand drawing this framing for film. I've had a few images where I've incorporated that framing theme. Every time I have to hand draw it, it's annoying. So to be able to just do that, and then bricks. I could have used this yesterday when I drew bricks. I just draw bricks by hand, but this is for when I'm jelly plating. So exciting stuff. But thank you for asking, Barbara. It's really nice of you. Miriam says, Maxie went to buy Posca white and black and came only with white. Didn't have the black. That's unfortunate. See, it's always something. It depends on what people use, right? Like it depends on what the favorite color, the favorite, whatever it is for the region. It can really make a mess out of your plans, that's for sure. Okay, so I thought today, and I came up with this thought about 30 seconds ago. I thought today we'd incorporate some watercolor into to what we're doing today. Why? I'm glad you asked. Just because. And yeah, let's. So what's this? I gotta read the suggestion again. Do I want another stencil like that but bigger? Always looking for. See, brick stencils are really great. I think this is a lot of fun, but it's got the big cutout center part, and I think if I see one that doesn't have the brick center part, I think I'll pick that up because you know, this is sort of, you know, busting out, right? But honestly, when I would use stencils like that would be in backgrounds and you know, just putting some of those elements in the scenes. And so having it half there is not as beneficial as one might think. But thanks for asking. They're probably out there. I just have to go figure out where to get them. You know. Well, I hope that you were able to get the black Posca paint that you were looking for, Miriam. I'd lend you mine, but okay. So I'm going to pick some pen colors. And now I picked these two because they're in there. Let's throw that brown because it's in there as well. And let's play with that as our base today for what we've got to draw today. Receive it. I just have to put, yep. I'll just have to put thoughts out into the ether, and we'll figure that out. Yeah, you're right, Miriam. It is helpful to have larger ones, that's for sure. Okay, so I've got some brushes. I got a little bit of Wawa, and because I've been doing these Inktober things, here's how I've been doing it. This is the way that I've been just to digress and sidetrack for a moment. Okay, the Inktobers I have been doing like this. I've just been doing 2 to a page, page after page, and now I'm doing the backs of the original pages that I did. But initially, they're all, you can see how there's nothing on this back because that's tomorrow and the next day. That's the 20th and the 21st. So, but I've just been doing it like this in the sketchbook. And sort of, you know, I really don't use my sketchbook much like this. And it's everything I'm going to have to do to try to restrain myself from drawing all over these because I tend to do that a lot in my sketchbooks. Like this is this is how my sketchbook usually works, where things are drawn on top of things, and I'm not overly precious about anything. It's just idea work. It's really just trying to use it as a place to throw things and see what sticks, right? And so because of that, I'm going to be hard pressed not to draw all over these. But this has been a fun process, and I've enjoyed it. And I lost my place there. I am. That's pretty much. So, yeah, if you're, unless it's really burdensome for people, objectives like that are fun. So, okay, let's get cracking. What did I pick out? I picked out 3 colors, and then I've got over here, I found this for $20 at a bookstore in a town in Ontario here called Bayfield. And we were up, we had rented, we were up there for a weekend. We rented a little spot. It's not like we rented a fancy cottage or anything like that. Laurie and I just went up and rented a hotel suite up there someplace. And in between Bayfield and what's the other one? It's not Godrich. It's Grand Bend. And so Grand Bend's nice, but it's very touristy and nightlifey and stuff like that. And we're not old, right? And so we went over to Bayfield, which has got some nice little shops, and it's very, very, very similar to Niagara on the Lake. But I found this in a bookstore, and so I picked up this paint set because I like these colors. This is a really fun set of values. So I'm going to have to, at some point, start ordering some replacement bits from this German company because I really enjoy these paints, but I know that at one point in time, probably 20 years from now, I'm going to have big missing spots out of it, and I'll want to replace those. So that's the paint set that I'll be using. It's from Fintech in Germany. Anyways, so, every one of my sketchbook pages could be a poster. I don't know about that. It'd be crazy posters. I probably write crazy things on those pages, but that's very sweet of you. What really... Christopher really means let's get crack-a-lackin'. That's true. That's true. I love it. Let's get cracking. We're gonna do a dairy farmer. If it'd be an egg farmer, that'd be perfect that job. Okay, so I got these 3 pens that I picked. I got little paintbrush set that I picked. I have a larger viewing area and the camera for you to see the tools that I'm using, which is fun. I think that's fun and beneficial. So what I thought I'd do is, see, that orange turns out pretty well. So I think I'll start in the orange and then introduce some of this browns and greens, or we'll see. We'll just get doing. Mary says, I like crazy. Well, that's good because you signed up at the right place. All right, so you can see in this, I don't know what was plated here. I really don't. What I do know is I'm not very good at jelly plating. I'm not good at transferring images. I can never remember what pages work and what pages don't from what magazines. So I make a lot of messes. And but when my granddaughter's with me, she somehow has a better affinity for it than I do at 12. And so I get some things out of the process. And again, this is her as well, sticking down stuff. Here, Grandpa, use some dragonflies. And what am I going to do? Just draw over them. But I'm okay with not having successful pulls and successful images out of trying to do image transferring. I'm actually okay with that. Now, a lot of people, if that's your objective goal, then go for it. Really, take the time you need to learn to do those things. Jelly plating is a really fun process, and I'm seeing absolutely beautiful results out of it. I think the one person that really stands out on it for me is got to be Yolanda, Devin Rex Art. She stops in here at the stream and visits. If you get a chance, go and check out some of her streams about how to do it. And then there's a guy in England called Yeats Makes, Yeates Makes, Yeats Makes, and Devin Rex is DEVONREXART. So yeah, those two have got some absolutely wonderful approaches and brilliant ideas. So Chris says, oh, and then Miriam says, yep, she's fantastic. She sure is. Chris says, I'll have a couple of days off next month, November 2nd, November 20th. No class, no banks, public holidays. All right, well, Chris, let me know if you want to come and join me on the stream one of those days. It'd be wonderful to have you. Okay, so let's get crack-a-lackin'. So I thought one of the things that we can do, it's not really showing up the orange, is it? Maybe we'll just switch right away to the brown. Maybe we'll play with both. Let's have fun. What I thought I'd do is just get right into farmer working in field. Now, in addition to we're going to incorporate a couple different elements here. We're going to incorporate the pen, the watercolor, but I've also got Polska, and I don't have a brown, so we're just going to stick ourselves to those two. And then we can add some little effects and features there. Chris says, sure, I'd love to stream with you. Let me know what day works best for you. November 20th. What do I got going on then? Looking at my note. Okay, yeah, no, I got the comic jam that day, but that's fine. That doesn't start until after. So, okay, let's get crack-a-lackin'. All right, so what I thought I'd start off with is immediately getting some composition going that showcases our farmer. And because this is such a silly idea of, hey, Riri, welcome aboard. Farmer in the field, farmer. Oh, welcome aboard, Riri. You have 2 days, Chris. Oh, yes, we do. I'd love to be on your stream as well, Miriam. That's very nice of you. Hey, how you doing, Scrappy Girl Dana? How are you? Welcome aboard. Okay, so we've got the jelly-plated image to start with. I've started cutting out some shapes with the pen. Now, I don't know what was initially on this image because, we do these and we go through it and desperately finding things that we think are going to transfer. So I can't tell you there's any plan involved, but I got an idea as soon as I see it for what I want it to be. So we're going to cut out our farmer, and this will be our first panel shape. Is old Farmer Joe. And quick and easy, quick and dirty. So I've raised his one sleeve up and his one sleeve down. So let's switcheroo that, shall we? Gotta have some similar size in sleeves. So I'm just putting some fun shapes to move around with the fabric on his back, and with the just pulling out some things for us to use here, and then this will be our frame line here for the panel. And then we want our shot of his face. I don't know how well this is turning out. It looks like you can see it in the camera because I got new lighting. But Riri asks, is this on fabric? No, this is a piece of paper that just a white piece of cardstock. I love working on cardstock that has been jelly plated. And as I was saying at the beginning, I'm not very good at jelly plating. So I get these rather unsuccessful transfers, but I'm good with the unsuccessful transfers because what it actually gives me is a foundational base for me to do something with. So sometimes you got to take those losses and turn them into wins, right? Okay, so let's keep cracking on this. Look forward to joining Miriam on our stream and having Chris come on this one. We'll just have to figure out some dates. But hey, it's a date. It's nice. It's the thing I talk about with this community all the time, everybody, is how nice it is and how great everybody here is about engaging in the process of making and being encouraging to each other in developing whatever we're working on. Somebody's got some proficiency in something, and they want to pass on that information. This is a good group that does that. I love that. I really do. I really appreciate that and enjoy that, and I appreciate people accepting this old weirdo in the midst. And let's have some fun. So I'm using this postcard, and I'm pulling some more yellow into this image and rounding out some of these shapes as I've drawn them in. It really blends in well, but that's kind of the point, that's kind of what we really want here is for, and it happens to be fortunate that the Posca yellow is the same as the yellow that I used, even though this one's called straw yellow, and who knows what the other one is. But if you can find, connecting values in different tools, that's great. So now I'm going to give a couple little highlights to old Farmer Joe here. Pull some information out of his face. Daggum, we got ourselves a farmer. Okay. Riri says, I love our community, and I don't like people. Well, like I said, it's a really great bunch. It really is. It's just kind of nice to be able to connect with people about similar things. I was going to do a broad area value with the brown pen, and I got acrylic or a watercolor paint set here. So yeah, it's there's all kinds of folks out there doing stuff in their own regard, but they themselves are rather, I'm here and you're over there, whereas this is a group I find that really engages and connects with one another and encourages one another, and that's a blessing. So okay, just for interest's sake, I put up this. Did I say this already? Did I? Oh, I think I showed the picture. I put up the second mini book of collected one-page stories on Patreon today. You don't have to be following my Patreon to find those. So we're getting down to it, putting out these little mini digital books, and because the book I've been working on is going to take longer, so that's fine. In the meantime, I'm going to be doing some other stuff. So I'm just using this brown watercolor to put some detail into this area at this first panel. And then we're going to pull some more information out of it too. We've still got these greens and the other the dark brown to use. Riri, if they make you mad, just turn them off. Well, yeah, but sometimes it's a challenge for people to tune people out in their mode, right? But that is good advice though. Don't let people pull your day down. But that doesn't change the fact that somebody bangs into you with a grocery cart at Walmart because they weren't looking. Boy, we give too much promotion to Walmart. It's just become so, such a typical mainstay in the world here. Now, Corbin's managing to leave me alone today, which is nice. I fed them just before the stream. He's been climbing on my desk the last few days, so this is kind of a little breather for me. So you won't be hearing much meowing today, I don't think, unless he shows up and says, "I've decided I require sustenance." And that's good. But yeah, tune people out if they upset you. Now, as per usual, I like to open it up to everybody that if you want to tell people what you got that you're working on right now, you are welcome to do so in the chat. If you've got a project you're working on, go for it. The beauty of the virtual era, yeah. Books are fun. I created a coloring book for my friends here in Mexico in 2016. Coloring book about flower muscats. Could you tell me how this farmer appears out of thin air in your page? Well, we had a little rough shape of him. If you go back in the video, we had a little rough bit of him, of a guy with a hat on to start with. So that made it quick. But practice, practice, practice. I'm not afraid of anyone. It's in-person encounters. Yeah, in-person encounters are hard. The more that we find ourselves, distanced from one another in society today, it becomes more and more difficult to have that in-person engagement. Here's something that might be of interest to you. One of the most prolific sequential artists in the history of North American art, okay, a guy named Jack Kirby. And if you're one of those people attending all these movies these days, the majority of these movie characters that you're watching were created by one guy, and that's Jack Kirby. He created the Avengers, the Hulk, the X-Men. Ditko did Doctor Strange. Ditko did Spider-Man. But all the X-Men, all the Fantastic Four, all the early X-Men, all the Fantastic Four, the early Avengers, all of that, Thor, that's all Jack Kirby. Well, Jack was not great with, with people. People would take advantage of his kindness and would take advantage of him just being nice and affable and approachable. And so it became, what's wonderful about himself and his wife, Roz, is that it became necessary for Roz to sort of handle the people. So that Jack didn't always get taken advantage of. And in the last year or so, I've sort of felt similar because I'm not good at, I take people at their word, and and I just give people the benefit of the doubt. And so that's led me to have a number of different engagements with people where it's just sort of, oh, I thought we were doing this because you said, hey, we're doing this, and then it turns out not to be this. And so Lori is helping me out with that more and more as we go. So it's good when it's one thing not to be afraid of anybody. I'm not afraid of anyone, but I'm not good at the whole talking and figuring things out stuff. I can blather, but you know what I mean. I saw the shape. That was a compliment. Oh, thanks, Miriam. That's very nice. I started a fall journal. Okay, excellent. Here we go. Dana says, I started a fall journal. I have a glass project that I'll start on Monday. Oh, that's awesome. Awesome. There's a woman too, Christopher. You see a woman in the image? In this image? You see a lady? I'm extremely happy with my life, my little life. Now I'm extraordinary fortune. Oh yeah, that's important. Buffering. Riri says, I'm working on 5 things. If I try to do more, I get overwhelmed. And I don't enjoy overwhelmedness. And good humor. Okay. Yeah, you got to be able to figure out what your meter is when you're working on stuff. There's a point for all of us that sort of says, I'm at a point now where anything more, and it just feels like stress and tension. And honestly, making things shouldn't feel like stress and tension. Making things should feel for us like, hey, I've got this thing I'm trying to do and express and communicate myself in this measure, but it shouldn't cause you any anxiety. See, that's a challenging thing too about putting yourself out there in the world and engaging with others, taking on projects. They're no good if they cause you anxiety. That's why I'm always saying at the start of things like Inktober that, hey, if it's going to stress you out, don't do it. If it's going to interfere with the things you got to do, stop doing it. This is it's just a thing. It's just a fun little thing. Because I've seen people full on panic themselves over Inktober. And it's like, what is the point of that? But if you're going to do it, just do it. So this is following some of those early shapes that I cut into the image with the orange. But the exciting part, the pizzazz, it's coming up next. Here comes the pizzazz, folks. Okay, Barbara sees the woman too. Whereabouts on the page is the woman? Is she over here? Is she here? That's Dragonfly. I know, I'm being silly. Her hair is turning back to the farmer on his left. Like she's in the foreground, like this. Because I see hair. Because we'll curve her out of there if you see it. I see Miriam. Everybody sees it with me. What am I missing? And what Jen Wren says. Hiya, Jen Wren. Welcome aboard. Yes. So this is the hair. Okay, so I like that. That's fun. Okay, let's see what we can find in here. Is that pulling her out a little bit? Holding the farmer's. Oh, there. I see it. Okay. All right. I got it now. Holding the farmer's hand is what gave it away to me. Is I was missing it completely, let's be honest. Hello, Christopher. Because I was prepared to cover out part of the farmer because I thought you meant this overlapping thing. That's a beautiful thing about abstract, foundations is that there's so many things that you can see in something. All right, let's let that dry for 2 seconds. Come back in with Posca. I see her hair, her arm, her middle, and a piece of her bottom. She's looking in the opposite direction of the farmer. Yeah, I like that. I just sent it to your messenger too late, of course. I went over her. I did go over her, didn't I? All right, well, we'll see what we can find in there. In the meantime, I have got a stuffy nose all of a sudden. All right. Well, I'll figure this out, but I want to let this little spot dry first. So the green that I've got, I'm going to use as a punch value. Because we've got this prominent, red-orange in here, the green should work as a complementary, but a more interesting one than just going into like a purple or something, right? So hopefully that makes it just jump. I tend to do this. I don't color in full outlines. I don't fill in the full outline or do the sweeping line that connects from A to B all the time. And the reason that I don't is the viewer's eye is going to fill that in as they go. So if you make little marks that to enhance the areas where the line maybe has some more density, then this looks no different than if I had done the entire line in one value. So just simply hitting little spots of it. And it also just makes it a little more interesting for the eye to whistle around the page. You can include her. She's mad at him because he gave the milk to them. Yeah, Becky. Hi, welcome aboard, Becky. That's fun, maybe. She's mad at him. How can you give away our cow's milk? So is this the arm that people are seeing? And then her hair is turning away this way? Or is somebody seeing this as her? Because I think that there's numerous people that we're seeing here. So why don't we fill them all in? Everybody's saying hi to each other. That's nice. Okay, so I think I see a shoulder that moves into an arm that comes down here and connects to the farmer's arm. Now it's going to be off panel, right? But if I move his arm here, okay, and you can see where I'm basically drawing the line for the panel. But we can still include her arm there, right? And that allows us to add her body in here, as I see it. And this would be where her shoulder rounds off. One of the things that I have a big problem with, we're gonna get into it now. One of the things I really have a problem with contemporary superhero books, okay, is that there's a great deal of people that have absolute zero concept of how gravity works on the human body, and most specifically with the ladies. And so I often find that when you're reading a book, someone has just completely missed the mark on how gravity affects our form. And without getting into it, I just got into it. So, okay, so we know that her hair, I'm reading as it follows through like so. right? Which would bring her face up into here. I gave her a lot of hair. It's all right. We can do with that. I gave her an early Priscilla Presley cut. Anyways, that's always bugged me. Just to tell you, it's bugged me. Barbara says no milk today. Herman's. There you go. I saw both a woman, you painted the back of her head, and a girl and the farmer are all holding hands. Like, here we go. Like, there's the third person there. But she's, scale-wise, she would cover up. She would be in front of those two. Oh. Miriam went out and back twice. Well, I'm glad you're back. Okay, so one of the things that we can do then, so we've got her in the foreground with him, okay, is that I'm debating on whether or not I go farther down in that. So we can put, there's another young person here in the background, and they've got some bangs going on. So I'm wondering, tell you what, we're going to do this. You want to get crazy? Let's get crazy. Getting all mental here. Experimental. I even made a logo for that ridiculous joke. I'll show you. Where is it? Yeah, I'm getting mental. Everything's experimental. Sorry. I don't know what I'm doing half the time. Okay, so here she is. And so I've put her in a different value. So what we can do now with this, give her a high. Ooh, I see a fold in there. I don't know about you, but I see a fold in a long sleeve over a short sleeve. Okay, well that goes again off the panel. So here's another person, and we're going to make some more people in here, just because we can. So now we're at a, what do you call that? Auctioneer? No. It's amazing how many different people we all see. I think it's fun. I think that's what's kind of fun about something like this, is that you're going to pull all kinds of different elements out of this abstract bunch of shapes that you've got on your jelly plate. You're going to see something wholly different from the person directly beside you. And that's good. And the reason I say that that's good is that lets you follow your own cue points. It lets you follow your own images that you're pulling out of it, right? There's a real benefit in that. Because whatever your result is going to be with this page as you're doing it, it's going to be yours, right? We're not going down there again. So the reason that I'm not putting lines down here is that who knows when we're going to find them. So I do think it's cute, though, the holding hands part. And now a moment of how sappy Christopher is. Lori and I hold hands when we go for walks each night. We're silly. It's funny, too, because other people don't do that. something about the settings. As long as we don't see dead people. No, you can see a red doorknob. Oh, you pulled this from Jelly Print. Yeah, I was saying my Jelly Prints aren't successful. And so because of that, Jen, it's like my granddaughter is more successful than I am. But this is us trying to do a few different images, and really the only thing that you can pull out of it is that face. But there's a whole lot of things we lost here, right? But having that face and then these arbitrary marks, and I can't remember what they were from. Well, that's what I got to work with. So things like that are kind of interesting to set yourself up with. Also, the shapes, like letters, really hard white and black contrast things, those show up. And this was us putting down a stencil of the alphabet. She put that down on the paper when we did this part. So she's better at it than I am. Here's one of her putting down shapes and patterns with the stencils that I picked up at the Craft Hive. So she's making some things out of that. And that's fun. That's a lot of fun. But this is me trying to get a diver, do a image of a diver. That's what showed up. So, what I find the real benefit of it is it allows me to just do whatever I want on top of it. And if I find some elements in it, great. But for the most part, it's really just drawing whatever it is that I need. So allow yourself that. Allow yourself to make mistakes, and then you work with that, utilize that. You never know what is going to come from that. Like we've just found a whole crowd scene in this one. Who knows if we would have found this otherwise if we hadn't just taken a few minutes. And then, of course, the wonderful suggestions from you guys about there's a face there, there's a face there, and so we tried to find them. And it's that allowing yourself the openness, the receptivity to those different possibilities that will keep the fun coming. Jen says, love it. Oh, that's nice of Jen. Miriam says, great. Okay. I hope that it's nothing on my end that's causing the buffering. Miriam. Okay, so all right, so I'm going to come back in with the brown watercolor, right, that we're using here, and we'll pull some more shapes out of there. Now there's another person there. So we'll give them a chance to peek through a little bit here. I'm missing something there. Just give me 1 second. They're right there with you. It's a little too dark. So this is just an umber watercolor I'm using. A German paint set that I found in Bayfield, Ontario. Expensive place to be, Bayfield, but it's fun to just visit for a day or so. these fancy towns. Oh, Barbara says, this is definitely a crowd scene now. In the field of dreams, if you jelly plate it, they will come. Fantastic. Yeah, I like that. So I'm going to be doing some tutorial videos next for the YouTube channel here. Now that we're learning how to edit videos instead of just point and shoot live streams like I've been doing. We'll be doing some tutorials about, hey, let's draw with this today, or hey, let's draw with that today, and just talk about some materials. It won't be all end all displays, but it will be, here's some basics to think about if you're using this. And I tend to break a lot of rules when it comes to, this is the way to use this medium. So I think because of that, I might be able to show people something different. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get my fingerprints in there on purpose, because I like little textures everywhere. Textures are fun. That's so fantastically funny. No dead people, just people hidden in the jelly plate. They're just hiding in there. Get out of my jelly plate, folks. All right, so I think we're finding our people in here. You can see what I'm seeing. Do you see what I'm seeing? What's that? Yeah, okay. It's showing up in the old picture. Excellent. Looking forward to it. Oh, that's very nice. Yeah, I just think that I really enjoy doing the live streams and being able to engage with the community of folks here, because there's so many nice people. But I know that I've been DM'd about this is really the bottom line here. That it's sometimes challenging if I'm saying, hey, try this. To find that if you have to look back on the video and what the heck did Chris say that thing about the thing? And so because of that, I think that just doing some little short videos that say, hey, throw this at the wall and see if it sticks, So that's what we're going to try. So I'm still only using the brown, the orange, the green, the yellow. 4 colors. And we're going to get a little more creative too, and how we're going to put these together. Well, I think it's coming. It's pulling up. Broken rules equals real art. I like that, Jen. I like that a lot. They're alive. Riri agrees as well. Yeah, I think that it's that whole, this is the way that things should be done mentality that it's a constraint. It's something that might hold you back from discovering something, that you might not have discovered otherwise because of that self-constraint. So, and my background's in traditional fine art. And so because of that, some of the lessons that I got were grand, but I found that because of growing up in poverty, I sort of had to make do with whatever I had. And so by that process of my original background being makeshift whatever materials or mark making tools that I can come across to be a foundation, and then going and learning in this high school that had a featured art program to utilize certain tools or to develop this sort of underpinning of some formal approaches. That combination just makes me sort of try formality, but with whatever I can make stick. And I find it liberating. I think that might be why I work with everything and anything. Oh, Miriam's going to do, she sees her own version of the woman beside. Oh, excellent. Excellent. Looking forward to seeing that, Miriam. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jim Lujan. Okay, I'm going to talk about this guy for a second. This Jim Lujan fella, he has created, brace yourself, here it comes. Jim has, oh, you all saw what my back looks like. Anyways, so these are a number of films by Mr. Jim Lujan. He actually did this one with Bill Plimpton. Bill Plimpton! And Bill Plimpton got to work with Jim Lujan. Anyway, these are a number of collections of films of his shorts. Revengeance is a full project, but these are a bunch of short films that Jim has made. Now, how does that fit into what you're talking about, Chris? Well, I'm glad you asked. Jim is working on his first feature-length film, and in doing so, he is, there it is, 7 smiles. Love that. So, and in doing so, it's one continuous animation, as opposed to he's done a bunch of shorts that connect together to make a larger feature. In this case, he's working specifically on a feature film, and he talks about that on his streaming show that he does occasionally on his channel, which is under his name, and it's called "Hey Man, how's your movie going?" And I really am a big fan of Jim's work, but here's the exciting part: he's got an episode tonight at 7 p.m. EST, where he's going to be talking to Mr. Paul Pate, who's also an animator and a graphic novelist. Necessity, says Riri, is the mother of invention. Indeedly-do. Jen says, I'm a rule follower in real life, so I find that I love art because there's no spoon. I mean, rules. Sorry, Matrix joke. That's a great joke. We know what pill you took. No, I'm the same way. You find that people that tend to be boring, standard, do all the things that they're supposed to do, those guys. That's, it shows in the work, because the work is just free. Because in your day-to-day world, you don't feel this need to be extra. I find that the more extra people are, the less interesting they are. But, yeah, I like that, Jen. I'm a rule follower too, but I'm a rule breaker when it comes to art. The thing that I got a quote for the new books from the former editor-publisher of Marvel Comics, and that is that I have heterodox visual storytelling. What does heterodox mean, you ask? Everybody asks that. Even I had to look that up. Heterodox visual storytelling means orthodox means you follow the rules. Unorthodox means you don't follow the rules. Heterodox means you're making new rules. You're doing different things. So I tend to be that mindset in my creative self-exploration. So I get it. I completely get it. Jen says, my mom's an oil painter, and I love her work. It's loose but realistic. Isn't that interesting? Miriam's dad is a painter as well. It's interesting how many artists and artist kids, produce kids that work in art. None of my kids in the studio. Not a one. My granddaughter comes in the studio and does stuff. My oldest, she likes to do crafts, with the kids and projects. But no, I didn't raise any I raised people that are interested in creativity, but I didn't raise any artists. So I always love to hear that when people have parents that were working on stuff, and if they like their parents, that's even cooler. I had a really good friend named Dalla, and he was the painter of his father. Klaus was an absolute fantastic painter whose work I always loved. Even before I met his son, I loved his work. And when I met his son, I was like, wow, that's your dad? And, he got into art. But what he got into was nothing. His dad was a realist, and he was a pure abstractionist. It was really kind of interesting, but he loved his dad's stuff. There's a short on my channel. Oh, I'll have to check that out. And Jen says, I'm a journal maker myself. Oh, excellent. Excellent. There you go. Love it. I love it. I love it because it's yours. It's not like you're just doing, your mom's thing. There'd be nothing wrong with doing what mom's doing. It. I'm just saying I'm always more excited about it being yours. Okay, so enough of the brown. Let's get in there with some green, Chris. Okay, since he asked. I'm loving abstract the older I get. Really, recently started jelly plating. It's a lot of fun. It really is. I mentioned a couple of names earlier at the start. Yeats Makes and Devin Rex Art is the two that I'm checking out that I'm really I find really impactful. So, not to dismiss anybody here that's also jelly plating, but these are two people that are just every time they sit down, they're trying to push something different. And I like that. I'm trying to figure out. I've tried it. I was unsuccessful. I think it's a patience thing. I think that I've got to allow the reality that people might be time-lapsing their videos, which is why I think it takes a shorter time than it does. But I'm trying to figure out how to take some graphite drawings and switch them over to the plates. Drop my paintbrush. I'm missing stuff here. I'm sorry for that. Dana says, I can paint what I see, but not a great imagination. Dana, the fact you pick up the paintbrush in the first place shows that you have imagination. Oh, Barbara's looked it up. Look at this. Heterodox, not conforming with accepted or orthodox standards, is a heterodox thinker. Opposed to established opinions and belief. It's my new favorite word, and I love it. Is that good that I was described that way? Dana, if I'm doing realistic, I'm the same. That's why I'm starting to enjoy the abstract more. There you go. Fantastic new word, Barb. Mine. You guys can all fight over it. But yeah, that was when the quote for this book came in from this person who I really respect. And I had a chance to meet, and he said he'd do a quote from the book. I'm like, wow, okay. And they really liked what I was doing. And then he sent me a quote that said, heterodox visual storytelling, mind-blowing. I'm like, is that good? I had to look it up. Because, I didn't know what it meant. I don't know that a lot of people do know what it means. But it's on my business cards, and it's on my the big wall banner thing that I have sometimes behind me here in the studio. So I appreciate it immensely. It's kind of nice when people say nice things about us, isn't it? I appreciate that, but at the same time, it's nice learning new words too. I like that. It's a short way of saying this is a weirdo. it's also a topic or a conversation starter. Because people are like, what does that mean? Like, I had to look it up too. It's kind of fun now. Yeah, I'm going to definitely be. That's weird. On the verge of finding my subject for a story. Maybe verge is an exaggeration. Soon, sometime, it'll come to you, right? Sometimes it's just about start working on something in context of the larger narrative, and then maybe that character comes through in that as you're working through that first image. All right. Well, I'm not done adding a little more visual complexity to this first image by half. There's a bunch of things I want to do with this now, but I'm not going to make you sit here and wait the whole time for me to get it together. So let's jump into the next picture. Well, oh, Miriam sent me a photo. Okay. So, oh, Chris is off. Thanks, Chris, for coming and hanging out. It's super cool. Really good to see you today. And then we'll figure out the 2nd or the 20th. Which one works best for you, Chris? Let me know. Yeah, which one would you rather do? Jen says we're all weird. That's why we're here. Oh, okay. How do you only have 220 subbies? What? I don't know. In January I had 26. So I think I'm really thankful for 220 people, but I I don't know what to do to get more, because apparently you're not allowed to just tackle people in the street. Anyways. Tell all your friends. Tell the whole bunch. Yeah, I'm starting to put eyes in there, folks. Yeah. It's a really bright day. Everybody's wearing hats and got hair. Okay, so here's our first little bit of composition. Now let's just leave this to settle down and dry a little bit. Let's just jump into our next thing. Now, I know that there's information here, and there is, well, my granddaughter lovingly stamped a dragonfly on it for me. But, I'll send you a message. Okay, excellent. You clearly should have more. Well, that's very nice of you, Jen. I'll get there. Yep. I hope so one day, Christopher, you'll get the numbers either through lots of hard work or setting up. Too late? No. Hashtag goals. Anyways. All right, let's jump in with this orange again. Just because we started building up the base of this with the orange, let's keep that rolling. Appreciate that, by the way, Barbara. Okay, so we've got our people in the crowd. That's where we'll start our thing. Now, the suggestion for today, remember, is a farmer gives skeletons a lot of milk so that they get stronger. I'm looking for those suggestions. The dairy farmer provides milk to a skeleton horde, HORDE, in case I'm making that sound wrong, to make them stronger. So we've got our dairy farmer at the cattle auction. And then our next panel that we'll put in here is let's have them buy him a cow. So we'll try to pull him out of here. So I like the complexity of the information on the back. Now hopefully this is you can see a rough shape of it, but we'll get some things happening here. Just a couple secs. I'm just going to put in old Farmer Joe here. Let's give him a bit of a, hey, I've been working in the fields and I ate lots of high protein diet. So tummy, that's what I call it. Give him his farmer shirt. So what I usually do is I have, and I'll show you this just to so you don't think I'm. So I have this small bunch of pictures that this is what I use. So I'm using this picture. It's flashed out, and I'm sorry for that, but that's the size of source images that I use. And the reason that that's the size of source images that I use is because the more you get all those details, the more you focus too much on the details and you don't let your brain think how things work and how things go together and use your imagination. So I need to get crack-a-lackin'. Thank you, Christopher. Take care. All. Bye. Bye, Barbara. Thanks for coming and hanging out. Super cool. Okay, so we've got this coming together now. Here's Farmer Joe. And here's his back. We'll put in some of those folds here. And then I'm going to switch colors just so this is easier now, because I don't know that you can necessarily see what I'm doing. So I'm drawing over top of the dragonfly image. That value of the dragonfly image, which is a rough estimate, the similar value to the green pen that I'm using, just gives a little more complexity in the background, right? Right. So, okay, so we've got folds in his shirt, and we'll have his arm coming on down. I tend to like to look at things as shapes as opposed to looking at things as lines. I'm a big advocate of that. So that's why you see these little gesticulative marks, that because I'm more interested in seeing how those things work together than I am about having these perfectly laid in linear images. I'm trying to figure out the shapes. So and the nice thing about the orange, I'll give you this much, is that it allows me to give myself a moment to try to, in those little spots where I want to make sure I get the shape of his head and his hat and whatnot right, because that orange blends in more readily than the brown or the green would. And I'm laying those lines down lightly, so I'm not grooving it into the paper, you know. It lets me make sure I got things where I want them. Now, this is part of my being a neurotic worrywart, because generally the lines that I'm drawing now aren't going to change. And yet, for some reason, I get a little piece of comfort by doing this in this way. So if you need to find those things for yourself, those little moments of what makes you feel comfortable, then utilize those and don't give them up. Even if your proficiency at drawing improves, you're going to find that if you've got patterns and behaviors that work for you on a regular basis, then stick with your patterns. Stick with your tried and true methodology. So here's our farmer, and I want to get his hand. So I'm going to try to run it this same line as I got the other panel over here. Just run across the top like so. Now my thought for the third panel, just to take you through where my headspace is now, my thought for the third panel is milk. Big old jar of milk. The symbolic point of the whole thing. It's all about the milk. Jen says it's a good trick. Yeah, well, if it's true, try to use whatever you can use. And Riri says, I just sent the link to a bunch of people on Instagram. Oh, Riri, that's super nice of you. I appreciate that. That's nice. I'm not good at, I'm going to be honest, I'm really not good at self-promotion or necessarily tooting my own horn there, so I appreciate you, man. I was trying to do a promo where I would suggest, hey, I'm doing a stream at this time. Tell everybody, tell your grandma. People don't call their grandmas enough anymore. And, you know, somebody went, what in the world are you talking about? And I'm like, what? Grandmas need love too. And he's like, you just focus on you. And I'm like, nah, grandmas need some help. He thought it was a bit of a nincompoop, so not entirely wrong. Okay, so I'm coming in with that yellow to emphasize around these shapes. Right? Right. And so even though that dragonfly image is in behind, right, it just gives us a little bit of visual complexity. I'm going to hold this up to the camera and hopefully, okay, so we'll get some pull out with the focus for a sec. So even though whatever values are in behind or whatever little sophisticated information is back there, it just gives more visual complexity to what we're doing with the image overall. We're still in charge. So this dragonfly image is going to disappear. But because of that value being in behind the foreground image that we're putting down, it gives it a little bit more. Do you know what I mean? The farmer will need plaid on. Oh, you betcha. I'll get right into some plaid. I like drawn plaid. Jim tells me that my horn deserves tooting, which is the only way to read that, by the way. My horn deserves tooting. Ah! Thanks, Jim. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to put his hand here, and let's have him. I was looking at that small image I showed you, where it's the one where, well, you couldn't really see, it was flashed out. I'm sorry for that, but he's got a cow that he's checking out. He's checking out the beats on said cow. So, and I'm looking at that picture, and it looks like, I don't know if it's a boy cow or a girl cow. I know, but boy cows are bulls. I know. Hey, Dan, how you doing? Welcome aboard. So, so now that we've got this part of the image, let's get into drawing this cattle into the composition. So now we've got him at the auction, and here he is buying his cow. Now I've got two directions that I can go with this, because the suggestion is dairy farmer provides milk to a skeleton horde to make them stronger, and that's written down at the start of the chat. If that didn't make any sense at all, what came out of my mouth, and the chat should appear eventually in the video as well if you're watching this later on. Dairy farmer provides milk to a skeleton horde to make them stronger. So we're at a bidding auction for cattle. That's where we're starting with. We pulled this image out of the failed jelly plate that I tried to make, as well as some of these other faces that we were finding in there as a group. And so now I'm drawing the farmer examining a cow. And then we've got two directions we can go with this. Now, either I can draw the symbolic bottle of milk, which, it's like, it's almost totemic. It's almost like milk. That's what this is about. Or another thing I could do is to be drawing down on his luck skeleton who's got a little sign that says, will work for milk. Or somebody made a reference earlier to milk. It makes a body grow, I think it was, or something along those lines. Let me know if you wrote that down. I'm sorry, I can't remember who or what it was, but I know that it stood out. And so if you can remember what that was, feel free to put it in the chat and figure it out. But so there's two directions we can go with that. We can either maintain this slow build aspect to it, and introduce milk, or introduce the plight, affecting some of the characters, and that is these skeletons aren't very strong because of a lack of sufficient nutrients for their bones. So you can take an absurd idea. You can take something that just is rooted in absurdity and try to find a practical application of story to it. That's part of the fun. for me for taking random suggestions and doing whatever I do with it, because the level of absurdity that either comes through because it's me, or the absurdity of the idea that I'm trying to frame in a more sophisticated, bunny ears, presentation. Like today's piece that I put up was, what do you want to be when you grow up? And somebody said, I want to be a spy. And another little girl said, well, when I grow up, I want to be still be an only child. Or maybe I want an identical twin. And then the last boy says, I want to be a dinosaur, one with big teeth and claws, which is honestly an objective of mine when I was a child. So, it starts off in this presentation of kids who want to be these fun things, and this one wants to be an objective thing, and then this girl wants, for her, this sort of fantastic idea of, well, I could be a twin. Well, you can't just become a twin. And then the third kid's right off in La La Land with the whole I'll be a dinosaur. So it's like you're raising up absurdity. But when you start with an absurd suggestion, like, dairy farmer gives milk to skeletons to make them stronger. Well, how do you ground that in the same sort of way? Sorry for waving I talk with my hands, and I'm sorry, I was blocking the thing. So how do you do that in sort of a similar takeaway like the last page that I did, where I started in mundanity and I went more into the absurd. But in this context, I'm doing the same kind of thing. The last one was being silly. This is just silly. So how can we make silly seem normal by having dairy farmer try to help it down on his luck skeleton, and he's got a whole bunch of friends. And we present that as normalcy, right? And it's so whatever it is that you're looking at for story, whatever the contextual narrative of something is, go with it. Go with it. Follow whatever twists and turns happen. You'll be going this way one day, they'll be going that way the next day. It's kind of good. Dan says, milk is good for your bones. For the calcium challenged. Face green smiling. The emojis don't appear sometimes, depending on what your device is. If you're Android, I don't think they appear. Or maybe it's things. But the people, I don't think have problems. But Android people, I know that anytime I do emojis, it says things like face green smiling or tongue, happy face with tongue sticking out. And like, honestly, I think it's funnier to read those things. Okay, so back to it. Now I've still got this green Sharpie, Posca, that clearly I haven't used yet because the tip on it's still white. But I can come in here and do little hits, little deep punches in the values. So we'll get to that. Well, I'll get to that. I don't know if I'll get to it on the stream, but we'll get to it. It'll be in there. So it doesn't matter how complex the amount of tools that you have. It does not matter how expensive they are. Sometimes it just matters about what you're going to do with them and allowing yourself the possibilities, to find different approaches to utilize to do things with them. So, okay, cow. So we've got his hand here. We've got, some of those little fingies drawn in there. Now, the cow's head, if it sits, tiny picture here, brow ridge, raised eye, so that comes out, big old ear. So what I was saying earlier about if you've got a root color, enter in lightly with it, whether you're drawing, in this case it's orange, and I'm building up the composition lightly with this orange tool, and then pick out the lines you want. Just making sure I'm not missing stuff. So once again, I was talking about Jim's stream tonight. I advocate anybody that might have joined us late, check out, hey man, how's your movie going? at 7 p.m. EST tonight, and you will see an animator working on a feature-length animation film on his own talk about his process, as well as interviewing another person that we know who is an animator, Paul Pate, as well as a graphic novelist. And Paul will be on Jim's stream tonight, 7 o'clock, talking about whatever they talk about. But both of them are good friends here at the stream and creative individuals. And if you've if you've joined late, I always offer, if you want to tell people what you're working on right now, what your projects are, if you scan back through the chat, you'll see some of the things that people have said about what they're working on, and there's a lot of cool stuff. But if you've got something that you're working on, you want to stand on top of a rooftop and shout it at the citizens of the city, please feel free to do so. You won't get weird looks. So I'm drawing the first cattle in here, back ridge. I did a page recently in the Comic Jam that I oversee every month. Comic Jam is where a bunch of people sit around the table and work on sequential storytelling together, and it helps some of the younger creators learn some skills and develop some techniques, and it's just generally fun. Somebody draws a first panel and then slides the page in the middle, and the next person has to continue in the second panel following their narrative that they've started. So, and take it whatever way they want. So it's a lot of fun. But one of the things that we had recently was about a cow. I don't remember how it came about. Yeah, it might be this one. No, that's... Yeah, it's this one. It starts off with a dragon, and the next person draws Dragonoff, which is what these cattle are drinking. Can I have passed as a dragon? I found some wings. Stacy, take those off this minute. Stacy's mother was a coward. You know what? It's time I made my own choices. Go, Stacy, says the other cow, as she attempts to jump over the moon. And then this is the panel I drew, and he said, moon. I didn't realize that they weren't real wings, so I actually made a cow with wings. So, anyways, jams are fun, all ages. If you get an opportunity to do one of those things, please do. Maybe there's something I can do as a subject for one of my videos. Okay, so I'm drawing in some lines and some interesting shapes for our cattle here. And then we'll just make something from those in a moment. But you can see how our image is coming together now, farmer and cow. It's not very exciting, but it's all to set up. It's all set up in order to again, establish the tone or the narrative voice of our page, so that when we get to, well, it's a skeleton asking for a milk handout, it kind of makes a little bit of sense. It's like lulling the reader into a false sense of, you think it's about A, but it ends up being about B, right? So, Jen says, I'm excited. I want to see this cow. Now, my grandmother's name was Elsie. And I got in trouble once as a young person because my grandfather said we were watching their little 10-inch black and white television at their farmhouse, because this was a while ago. And And he said, oh, look at that. There's that milk commercial there. Elsie the cow. Hey, you know the name Elsie? That's your grandmother's name. And so, like a silly young person, little boy, I went into where my grandmother was preparing one of her ready in 5 minutes roast beefs. And I said, Grandma, are you named the same as a cow? And she went out into the living room and clapped my grandfather with her tea towel. Because I didn't know that Elsie the Borden cow was the animated spokesperson for this milk company, and my grandfather had basically used that as a cute little way of, your grandma's got the same name as a cow joke. And I was, a bit dopey and walked right into that. So she said, you stop listening to your grandfather. I gotta love him. And then Miriam says she must be so happy. Oh yeah, she was very impressed by that moment. That's for sure. No, I didn't know. I was really small at the time. Okay, so we've got our shapes together, and now we're gonna follow suit with what we've been doing here in our first image. And my grandparents were married for 72 years. When my grandmother passed, they had been together for 72 years. Married, properly married. They were also magical because their first child, my oldest uncle, my grandma was only pregnant for 5 months after they were married. It's because they're magical. You can't tell me it's because of anything else. They're both gone now, but I lived into the 90s. She put up with him for a long time. I asked her once, how is it you guys are married so long? And she told me, I'm sorry, I can't hear anything. And I said, Grandma, how was it that you and Grandpa are married for so long? Thinking that she meant she couldn't hear me. And she said, I'm sorry, I can't hear anything. And chuckling to herself, she walked out of the room, and it took me a few minutes to figure out the joke she just dropped on me. So. Well, that's inspiring, isn't it? 72 years. I would think that there would have been a combat medal given out. Yeah, my grandma. So here's an epiphany that I didn't have until I was an adult. And that is that it always seemed to me that there was always a pot roast meal ready to go. Minutes. Not long after we arrived. It never felt like, there was all this, long duration before we ate thing when we went to my grandparents' house. And I thought, wow, I don't know how my grandmother ever cooked a pot roast so fast. And it didn't dawn on me until adulthood that, she was working out of us when we were on the way, because like I said, dumb kid. It's not until you're an adult and you're cooking that you realize that. Oh yeah, she started that early. So, okay, so our cow's coming into the picture here, and then we'll just add in some of the same tonality around the composition as we did in the last one. Now I'm putting the shadows in on the farmer's attire. But as per requested, I will be putting him in plaid, and I'll do that for you before I finish up here, and then I'll wrap up the stream. But I'm just going to drop these tones in here, and then let's get to plaid this young man up. All right, well done. And we'll figure out the background of the composition. I think I just might put another cone behind. So, okay. Or beans in the crock pot. Yeah, right, something. Those farmers used to feed their crew 4 times during harvest sometimes. You know, so there's a preparation. I worked on, I worked on a cattle farm when I was 16, and we had to bring in 1,500 head of cattle. And before we went out to do it, the farm wife there, she said, "I put a little something out for you to get your energy up." And it was the most insane amount of food I've ever seen on a table. And I'm like, wow, okay. So I just can't imagine how much cooking. But you become really proficient at time management when you do enough of anything. What was I going to do? Plaid. Thank you for telling me. Okay, so I'm just going to draw it straight and green. Okay, so green and brown. Now, when you look at the object that you are going to be coating in plaid, so in this case, this farmer, right? Or if it's a blanket draped over somebody or whatever thing that you're going to do in plaid, it is basically just a checker pattern, right? But the important distinction to make is that you need to move the checker pattern around on the surface of the person or thing that is coated in plaid. So if our plaid shirt starts on our guy like so, okay, and the reason that I have it bending a little bit is with his back. And so when I get down here, because this is a billow, because this is popping out, this is why I did the shadow first, I'm going to fold it a little bit. And firstly, when this comes in, we know it's going down, and it's going to roll over again like that. So I'll hold that up for you to see. So then the lines start milling about. They start. So this line moves down into here. And so what so you can see how the checker pattern is now moving around the form. So with that in mind, as we start carrying these lines over our subject, whatever it is, in this case, Farmer Joe, just keep them working in conjunction with one another. Now, if you just want to do a flat plaid pattern on top of a surface, like let's say you cut out a piece of fabric and you cut out the shape of the surface that it's supposed to cover, like the silhouette of this guy's upper body, okay? So you cut out a piece of fabric like this. Flat plaid pattern right here. Another way you can do this is to then put these shadows, this dispensation of volume, as it moves in and out over the form of the farmer. You can put those in over top of a flat plaid pattern, and that looks cool too. So, consider variety of how you're going to go about doing this. So it just makes it a little more interesting for you. And it also allows you to not have to, get as complex or like this if you don't feel comfortable in doing so. So Now, when it comes to the arms, all right, I'll think about if the seam for the arm is on those 2 points that I just put down on the shoulders. So that means that the plaid pattern that we've already looked at is coming off of here. So here is it moving down over the space in the arm. So now we've got our down images in play. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed the other one. I apologize for that. Please don't give me evil. So it's just putting these little ripples in there. And it just gives it a little something more. But look at a plaid shirt and watch how that goes. Okay. So there's our top. So, you know, if you, oh, there's lesson 1. There ends the striped shirt lesson. So now we're going to move across our pattern. So if our line, and there's 2 ways you can do this. You can do a flat line across, but considering what we're talking about already, let's move that line about. Okay? Because we're doing the same thing with this line, but now we have to account for these same movements in the fabric, but in the horizontal axis, not just the vertical axis. Side to side, not just up and down. I know that many of you know that that's what that means, but there's always somebody goes, what the heck is vertical and horizontal? It always is. Completely fine, at least when I'm talking to kids at school and stuff. And I don't know who watches these streams. Somebody's watching it. I appreciate that, but I don't know who it is. So here's where you see the first little movement in the back there. Hold it up again. I'm sorry. So here's our first little movement in the back. So as we're following through again, and we're rolling over this part of the fashion, and we're moving back down again. I'll do a couple more, and then I'll bring it into focus here. And I'm skipping and jumping with the line. So here's where our plaid shirt, I'm sorry it focuses out or fades out when I bring it up closer to the light. I apologize for that. But I got the light set for here. So moving it up and over, up and over, up and over. And so I haven't put all of these lines down here. That is just a visual choice that I'm making. Now I can go through and finish all of this information. Sorry again. I can go through and fill in all of this patterning in here. But that's a visual choice. And it's those visual choices that makes it our own thing, right? So there's that part. And then we'll do the same thing here. Now, again, I'm not starting checkerboard because I'm already pushing where the lines are going in the first place. Okay, so there's one sleeve. A little bit better. There we go. And, oh, I'm missing stuff here. I gotta go, sorry. Hope I catch you again. Well, you're always welcome. I do this 2 o'clock Monday to Friday. You're always welcome to join. And tell everybody, tell your grandma. Tell your Aunt Sally, she needs some. Okay, so there's the basic pattern for the jacket. Now, the only difference, so if we've got our identifiable pattern for plaid, like so, we'll do it like this, just to make it a little bit bigger, a little more understanding. So what you have to remember for plaid now is the pattern part of it. So if each line moving down has a thicker line on the one side and a heavier line on the side of that, it's just one type of pattern. There's tons of different types of pattern. And the next one has like so, with an accentuated line there. So now you've just got to go through your plaid image that you put on here and to extend those lines there. And then when it gets more complex and you realize that there's a really soft line that runs along the inside of each one on many plaid patterns, and figure out how you're going to represent that. And then conversely, there's a soft line on this side too. So if you think about it like that, breaking it down that way, then you just have to apply that to this. Now, the challenge of doing plaid on a character is, it's one thing to do it on one character. It's another thing entirely to do it on a repeating character, like a character that is either your mainstay character of a composition, or it's just somebody that you're going to see a few times through the course of it. You're going to have to do that, whatever precedent you're setting in the beginning, just follow it for the next few, because that allows the reader to understand that that's that guy. There's a person who's a good friend of the stream here, named Gary Hodges, and I highly recommend you check out Gary Hodges' stream, or Gary Hodges' channel, yeah, because he's doing a series of books called DVSM, and they're fantastic, fantastic books. I cannot speak highly enough of Gary's writing, where he takes an idea of a book called Dinosaurs versus Mars Bots, which sounds, depending on how you register it, it can sound adolescent if you're looking at it from a certain vein. Mars Bots, it's not. It's a very fantastic adult examination of character. And Gary figured out a way in the computer to do a repetitive pattern that moves with the folds on a person's outfit. I don't know how he did it. I'm going to be honest. I'm not that sophisticated when it comes to computers. But just know that you can do this pattern repeatedly throughout your composition. It just takes a little bit of Carnegie Hall, right? How do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice. So it just takes a little bit of that. So then it just becomes a case of following through your composition and following through these lines that you've set. And the reason that I set these lines before I implement the pattern is because now it makes it easier to implement the pattern without it becoming really confusing about trying to think about the pattern and the lines at the same time. Okay? Okay, yes. So there's the start of the pattern coming in. And so as I go through now, you'll see that complexity of lines going over time. All right. I'll just do a piece of it, and then you know what I mean. All right, so there's our little bit of pattern. Now, here's where Chris gets cheeky. This second value, I'm coming in with the orange and putting it in that way. And then I'll do so the same here as well. And just for scales, I'm going to enhance that difference, that void, with the yellow. Plaid. Okay. Now get out there and plat everything up that you've ever seen. Yeah. Reminds me of SRV at Carnegie Hill. Oh, there you go. What is SRV? I'm sorry. I am awful at acronyms. Except for LRB. Everybody knows what LRB stands for. Little River Band. It's a dumb joke. Okay. Okay, so that's I think about it for today. I'll jump in some more of these little pieces of information like we've talked about. So you can take these failed jelly plates and turn them into something that you can utilize for whatever other purposes that you have for it. In the case of me, I do one-page stories with them, and you can see all kinds of examples of that on my Instagram and on Facebook, depending on whichever one you follow, of finished compositions that have been turned into one-page stories. The mini comics that we did, here's one. The mini comics that we did for the zine swap, the zines that we did. This is hold on, we're getting there. This is a jelly plated paper that has this orange and green and yellow mottled surface. And then I went through with similar colors, and I put forest areas in, and then I drew the foreground so that we can then turn it into our little zine books that we swapped. But this is from, hey, it's me, it's cool. But this is from jelly plated paper as well. So you can use that for a great deal of things instead of just looking at it as, it doesn't look like anything and putting it aside, right? So leave those openings for yourself to experiment with. I'll have this posted for tomorrow on the interwebs. And if you want to see what the original art ends up looking like without the text and stuff added to it, that's on my Patreon. All of those links are in the bottom. And then I collect these one-page stories up, and I'm, well, for now, putting them out in these mini books. They're available now on Patreon as well. So that's it for me today. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. There's a lot of super cool people here. A lot of super cool chat going on. I thank everybody for attending. I'll be back tomorrow. It's Friday tomorrow, most of it. Then it becomes Friday night, and that's a whole different time. But I'll be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. EST, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, if you're on that side of the coast of North America. I'm not sure what it is around the world. I know it's a very different time. I think it's 8 p.m. or 10 p.m., I think it is, for Miriam. I appreciate her coming out. Everybody else coming out as well. So thanks very much, everybody. I hope you've had a good day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, bye for now.